Hello, Stream. I believe all the audio should be coming through. You should be hearing Town Sounds, your glorious GM, and
People doing stuffs and things.
players.
Yeah,
There you go. All right, cool. If you're in Stream and you can't hear us, please let us know. Cool beans. All right. Sorry for getting started late. I blame one of our players who shall remain nameless, but will never live it down. All right. What happened last time, guys?
There was a chase. We took Dudman. Is that his name? I always forget.
Dudman. Yep, that's his name.
We took Dudman back to see his caretaker lady.
Mm-hmm.
We first convinced him that we were part of that which endures. So
Right. That's right.
Go with us willingly.
Yep.
And he started spouting all kinds of nonsense about making the sacrifices and doing all of this, and Harlock took very detailed and creepy notes. And Marthala promised that he would come to no harm, and the group made their way towards
Long rest.
towards a long rest, but also Officer Rate, Lieutenant Rate.
Lieutenant Rate, yep.
Who is Dudman's cousin?
Nope. Mistress Shine's nephew.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Hodor
Her nephew.
agrees with me. Unless that's my dog growling.
Nope, that was our dog.
Yes, her nephew.
And that's all I remember.
Well, we're gonna have to pause while I cook and eat my service dog who's barking for no reason.
They're chasing each other.
That seems harsh.
I will give you 2 service dogs and shut you in a house together and watch while they open all of the doors and drive each other crazy because they're incredibly intelligent little monsters. Luth, you need to mute when you're not talking.
It's nice that Hodor's kind of dumb.
Luth, mute when you're not talking.
I've been muting, and every time I unmute, she barks.
Perfect timing. Yes, I think that's everything.
She knows.
Does there any other details anyone wants to add?
I think that pretty adequately sums it up.
Mm-hmm. So you guys were on your way to Lieutenant Rate with Dudman, who I believe I was representing with a crystal, right? That sounds right.
I think so.
Sure. Here you go. There's a crystal. There's Dudman. He'd probably be walking next to Relic. No,
Not yet.
Dudman. Dudmin.
Shush up for now.
You're the worst. Okay, so you guys are headed to Lieutenant Rate, yes?
Yes.
Okay. I will just write that down. So, you guys make it here, and you walk in with moving the entire map. Yes, 1 second. You're supposed to be a terrain layer. Cool. I give up. Alright. Relic, you're going to represent the party. Because I don't feel like moving all of you across this map, and I don't feel like arguing with the map right now. So, all of you are Relic's token. So you guys pile in with Dudman. And Lieutenant Rate is behind his desk, and he looks up as you come in. Do you all go inside?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Quentin will go in.
Marthala and Druge?
I will probably remain very, very close to the doorway, but not inside the door.
Druge will also post up outside.
Okay.
Because
No.
it was really cramped in there, right? Like there wasn't a ton of space.
Yeah, it is pretty cramped, yeah.
That's what I
Although that's mostly because these tokens are very huge. Okay, so Lieutenant Rate sees most of you pile in, and he looks up and he says, "Oh, who's this now?"
Here's your murderer. Give us some money.
Dudman looks at you and he's like, "What? What is happening? No, I didn't. No, you." And he just starts howling. And some police officers, some watchmen that were sitting in these 2 chairs playing some cards as they hear this noise, jump up and come over and grab him. And Lieutenant Rate says, "Put him in the cell there." And so he gets put in the cell, and he will continue howling that you have betrayed him this entire time. And the 2 watch officers stand on either side of the door.
Having heard Relic, I'll probably duck in for a second and go, "Relic, that isn't fair. Lieutenant Rate, what my associate means to say is that this young man seems to have been influenced by something and done some harm, but he might not be the only one committing atrocities inside of the city."
And Rate says, "I see. Oak, I think you're going to need to explain to me, where did you find this young man?"
In the temple, cutting off feet. Caught him red-handed.
Well, but we didn't, did we?
Sure we did.
I didn't see him cut off a foot. Did any of you gentlemen see him cutting off feet?
Do you mean initially or eventually?
Either one.
About where we found him.
And Lieutenant Rate is like, he's confused. Shauna, the GM, knows that Harlock is referring to when I said, "Where did you find him?" But the players, Relic and Marthala, have moved on to whether or not you saw him cut off feet. So I don't know if that helped clarify anything, but Lieutenant Rate is confused. He's like looking back and forth between Marthala and Brannon, and then he looks up at Harlock when Harlock says something, and he's just like, where stop, where did you find that young man?" And he points at Dudman in the cell.
At the temple.
"Okay, why did you bring him to me?"
He confessed.
You paid us to.
He confessed to the murders that I sent you to investigate?
At least some of them, yes.
How do you know this?
Well, that's what a confession is. When they tell you that they did something.
I wrote it down. It's right here in my notes.
And he says, "Can I see those?"
Yes, I will make you a copy at a later date, but I do wish to keep them.
And he says,
I'll
"Of
show him
course."
my notes.
So he's looking through your notes, and he says, this is, and he's flipping through, and he looks up like he's gonna ask a question, and then he looks back down, and he's flipping through.
Oh, I'll probably start running through like, well, it appears that he is somehow either believes or has been influenced and is a follower of the cult of that which endures. He believed that whatever force requested offerings, which turned out to be left feet. We're not really sure why. He is originally a resident of Miss Shine's house of the mentally troubled.
Mistress Shine, that's my aunt. You've spoken to her?
He did mention that.
What does she have to say about this matter? This is one of her residents?
This is one of her residents. She was interested in where he was.
Sorry. And he says, I'm confused. I thought you reunited. So, Harlock, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I believe happens is that you and Lieutenant Rate go back and forth probably for like a good 30 minutes with Marthala and Relic.
I'm probably not helping very much.
Interjecting like helpful comments. Eventually he stands up and puts his hands down on the desk very firmly, and he's like, okay, let me get this straight. I hired you to look for the murderer. You went to the temple and found this young man whose name is Dudman.
That is the only name we know him by, yes.
You didn't find him in the temple. You started chasing him after you left the temple. But in the temple, you found a dead body missing a foot. Is that
Yes.
okay?
We pursued someone
You
from
stop.
the
And he
temple.
says, no, you wait. Let me do this. So,
Head hanging.
yeah, because you've been like confusing him for the last couple minutes. And just to be clear, this is Lieutenant Rate who's irritated. Shauna thinks you're funny. Okay, just to be clear.
Harlick is crestfallen.
Yes, and he says, just give me a second. So you chased someone out of the temple and across, and he looks down, because he was taking notes, he looks down his notes, he says, you chased him across rooftops? Is that correct?
I did not.
And he sort of like skips over Brandon where he's like, "You okay?" And okay, so you chased him over rooftops. You caught him when he came down from the rooftop. And that's when you went to Mistress Shines?
Well, I mean, we had already talked to her.
Right. Okay, so I hired you to look for the murderer, but that's right. On the way, you stopped by Mistress Shines, and she also asked you to look for the murderer?
Well, you didn't think that we were going to just start right out, did you? Mr. Shines was a nice layover. She seemed to need our help. She said Dudman was missing. And look, you all were looking for the same thing. So it just happened to work out.
And he says, it's not a problem. I'm just trying to clarify events. So, you stopped by my aunt's house first.
Mm-hmm.
And was she asking you to look for the murderer or for...
Dudman
She said that
specifically.
Dudman was
He had
missing.
gone missing.
Okay, so at that point, you didn't know that Dudman was the murderer.
Correct.
Right.
And in fact, the only reason
A
you think he's the murderer is because he told you he was.
Correct.
Yeah.
How
Couldn't
much of
open.
this kid Drew's here?
Step
All of
forward
it. The
and cough.
door's open, like Marthalla's standing in an open door.
Quentin will look over at Druge and kind of like nod, like, and then step forward and cough and say,
So,
we also tracked his scent to the temple and to the body and from the body. And kind of gesture back out the door at Druge.
you think he's
Was
innocent,
that what
don't
you were doing? Fascinating.
Drew will duck as much of his head through the door as he can and kind of wave the trunk generally at Rate.
Rate just sort of like, he sees this happen and he keeps like, his eyes keep landing on Harlick. Like he'll somehow confirm this. And I feel like Harlick is probably just nodding vigorously at him.
Is he still screaming?
On the regular. Maybe
He's-
occasionally shaking his head just to make it
Dudman
accidentally confusing.
Dudman has stopped screaming. Now he's sobbing.
Could I go over so that I am within eyesight of that door?
Yes. And as soon as Dudman sees you, he his eyes latch onto you, like he can't stop looking at you. And he's still sobbing, but it's a little quieter now.
Lieutenant Ray,
Yes.
do you know Dudman?
No, I've never seen this man before in my life.
Okay.
I would like to insight check that.
Roll me an insight check.
Good idea.
Well, he is just a boy after all.
Lieutenant Rate sighs. What was your insight check? A 12?
Mm-hmm.
He's lying.
Hold on. Justice made a spill. He had to leave the room for a second.
Okay, well, we'll just wait, because I feel like he's gonna jump all over that one. Yeah. I feel like he's gonna be like, wait a second.
He was lying.
Hold up a minute now.
Called it.
You're a liar.
Lieutenant Rate.
Rude.
Lieutenant Rate is like, excuse me? Who are you? Are you calling me a liar?
Yeah.
Do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am?
And he just sort of like looks very flustered, and he like starts rearranging things on his desk. And he sits down and he puts his head in his hands, like he does this on the desk. And he says, "All right, listen, I've seen Dudman at my aunt's house, or at, well, it's not a house. You've seen it at where's her place, right? I've seen that. I've seen him there. I don't know him though, and I didn't want to color the investigation if somebody thought I knew him.
So you lied about it.
Well, yeah, I lied about it.
Not a good
Hold on
start,
a
sir.
minute. You knowing him could only help Dudman.
I don't know him though. I've only ever seen him at my aunt's place. And frankly, that doesn't really help his case.
That's really rude, first of all.
And
And second of all, he's a child, and you should probably be nicer to children.
and he goes, "That is not a child. That is a young man, but he's not a child."
That's a young man who's had voices telling him to do horrible things.
No, he stays on the top floor at my aunt's place. That is for adults. The children are downstairs.
So
He-
you seem to know a lot more about him than you initially led on.
I
Wait.
just have seen him in his room. That's all.
Uh-huh.
Look, mate, your
Do
story's
I
changing.
believe that?
I don't know. I think you're gonna need to roll an insight check.
Okay.
To see whether you're gonna be believing Relic or Lieutenant Rate at this point.
You know what? If
Mhm.
if it's believing Relic or believing Lieutenant Rate, then I believe Relic. There's not even a question.
Then yeah, you think he's lying.
Are you sure you don't know anything about him?
Listen,
You seem awfully flustered compared to the last time we were here.
listen. I visit my aunt once a month. My mother makes me go over there. You don't understand, but so I have been in that house once a month for forever, since I was a young man, since I was a boy. And I remember when Dudman came to her as a child. He's always been there. He started speaking about a month ago. And the only reason I know this is because my aunt she talks about him all the time. That's all I know, is that he's one of her favorites. There's 3 or 4 of them that have been there for such a long time that they're sort of hers now, right? Like her children almost. Do you see what I mean?
You know, I do. I also realize that perhaps if you had respected your elders more and maybe honor to your family, you might have noticed that something was going on sooner and some other people might not have done.
Oh, snap.
And he's like,
This is a good time to start taking notes.
wait, wait, hang
Am
on.
I wrong? And I'll just kind of pull my sword up and lean on the counter.
He's gonna be like, yeah, you're wrong. This has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me.
Well, we just did your investigating for you.
I
in
hired you
afternoon.
to do this
So-
investigation. I hired
Right.
you.
Right, but we did. It took us all of a few hours, so I feel like maybe if you'd spent more time with your family.
So he's sitting in this
Still have
chair,
to feed,
and
then I'll
he's
go back outside.
you go back outside. He watches you. Like he's like leaning back in this chair now, like completely flabbergasted. Like this isn't. I can't just investigate all of my aunt's patients. Like, and he's not allowed to leave. Like you've completely flummoxed him.
Yeah, look, mate, it's irrelevant, right? You paid us. We did the job. We found him. We got a confession. Case solved. You owe us more money. We'll be on our way.
Uh-
Are you good at your bed? Are you good at your job? I don't know. I'm not gonna judge here.
He's not! I'll yell from outside.
Right. You're not. Let's be obvious.
He, at this point, he's just, like, the words are rolling over him. Like, he's just like, fine. Yep.
Cool. All right. Give us some money, and we'll be on our way.
Fine. Fine. And so he pulls out another scrap of paper, like he did the last time, and he scribbles something on it, and he was like, give this to the counting house, and you'll get the rest of your money. Thank you.
All right.
And then he,
Here we
like,
go, lads.
stands up
We're done.
and turns around and looks at the bookshelf and, like, is, like, he's on purpose ignoring you guys. And
Is there anything I can swipe off his desk?
roll me a sleight of hand.
I mean, he did turn his back to you.
That is a natural 20.
Oh my god.
On his desk,
Oh my.
there is a map of the city. There is a stack of rolled scrolls that are tied with different color ribbons. There's a letter. There's a stack of paper that look like reports. There's a notebook on top of it all where it seems like his daily log kind of thing, and there are pieces of paper stuck in it. There's also some quills and ink and bottles like that, and some like wax seals and things.
Is there a signet, seal, like stamp type thing as well?
Yes, there's he stamped the letter he gave you for the counting house with a particular stamp. And that was the same stamp he gave you. Yeah, he gave you a note last time that was stamped with this.
Okay. I will swipe the letter.
'Kay.
And the stamp, if I may. And the notebook.
Okay.
Unless I'm pushing it.
The notebook is going to be something that's like I will absolutely let you do this because you rolled a nat 20. I will say that you are smart enough to realize that notebook is something he basically had his hand on it the entire time he was talking to you, and he was taking notes in it. So if you swipe that and he turns around after you leave and he sees it gone, he's probably going to know. And like, I'm telling you this because you rolled a nat 20. Like, he's probably going to know that you took it. Whereas the smaller things like the letter and the stampy thing, he might not notice that.
Okay. I rolled for myself and I rolled a 4, so I will not take the note.
Got it.
The stamp and the letter, please.
Done. I'm gonna call it a signet. Tech, help me out. What is this called? You play with wax.
The ceiling press?
Yeah, we'll call it a ceiling press.
Quentin's gonna hang out kind of against the wall where he's been standing the whole time. Wait for these guys to leave.
Marthala, in a rage, is gonna charge back into the room and straight back towards the cell just to make sure that Deadman's okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say Deadman. When he hears that, like you're just gonna leave him, right? Like you've been paid for a job. He's completely bewildered because he thought you guys were, gonna help him and take him somewhere to do with that which endures. He has no idea what's happening. So Relic, you probably move away from the desk, and Marthala, you stomp back in.
Yep.
Okay. So there are 2 guards posted on either side of the door, and so they're not gonna let you get anywhere. Like they're not gonna let you open it or take him, but.
Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to get to the point where I could, talk to him. Like.
Yeah, so you're on the other side of
people do.
a big door that has bars in it.
Okay.
Oh,
And
if
say-
everyone's sorry, I got briefly distracted. If everyone's walking away, I will go back and be like, Lieutenant Rate, I'm just going to write the address that I can be reached. This particular case is fascinating in its combination of mental instability and magic and potential supernatural influences. I'm just very intrigued, and if I could be informed about any further developments, I would appreciate it.
He turns around and he gives you a look like, "Are you kidding?"
No.
He doesn't say anything. He just gives you this look like,
I hand him the note with the address of the inn on it.
he does not take it. he's like
I'll just leave this here then.
he crosses his arms like, "Ah," and then he like hand towards the door like get out, like get out.
Good day to you, sir.
Marthala, what do you say to? So Dudman is, yeah, he's completely flabbergasted by you guys. Lieutenant Raid is. Dudman is like on his knees, just sobbing. Just he's brokenhearted.
Okay, I'm gonna like lock eyes with Deadman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say, Deadman, you're going to need to be very, very brave right now. I know that there's a lot going on and this is very confusing. I'm coming back to get you.
He doesn't believe you, and as you're talking to him, he stops crying and his face gets very neutral, and he gets up and he goes and sits on one of the benches, and he just stares at the floor.
Okay. Remember what I said. I know you're mad right now. Just remember. Has everyone else left? Or are
No,
they leaving?
Quentin's still standing just inside the door. Just waiting.
Everyone else?
I have
You're
stayed
just still
outside.
outside.
Okay, Druge is outside. Brandon, you've probably left.
Yay.
Harlick is left. Brandel, have you left?
Yes.
Okay, so Quentin's still leaning up against the wall.
Marthala, on her way out, is going to go over to the desk and make enough noise in the process that she knows Lieutenant Rate knows she's there.
Yeah, he's looking at you.
I know you're an honorable man, even though I don't think what you did was right. So I'm going to tell you in 100% honesty that if anything happens to that young man, I will personally hold you responsible.
He
Your aunt put me in charge of his care, and I promise to keep him safe.
he leans his hands on the desk, like on his fists, and like leans towards you, and he says, "That man killed people. He will hang for this."
That boy was confused and controlled by something he didn't understand.
I don't
I
see
wouldn't be
any
surprised
evidence
if
of this.
You weren't the only one.
I don't see any evidence of this. I will go to the temple, and if I find evidence to support what you say, I'll speak to the city. But if I don't find any evidence, then he will hang for this.
I know he's a total bore, but you really should read Harlick's notes. Apparently, this is the kind of thing the Cult Witch Endures is known for.
He kind of shakes his head and he says, "I will look into this. You don't believe me because you think I can't do my job, but I will look into this."
I was mad. I apologize. Brannon has been trying to help me with my anger. He says it's a sin that I need to learn to control. So I am very sorry for having let that come
Emotions.
out. I hate to see someone's life get ruined so young over something that they didn't understand.
He looks
And then I'll hold out my hand for a handshake.
He looks like he's about to say something, and then he just shakes his head and he shakes your hand like, "All right, yeah. If you think of anything else, let me know. I would love to have a copy of Harlick, the guy that talked.
I barely pay attention. I'll make sure you get a copy of the notes.
I would love to see his notes. I promise you I'll look into this." And he kind of hangs his head a little bit, and he's like, "My aunt won't let me do anything else. You know." Yeah, he looks a little sheepishly at you, and you realize he's pretty young, like you get a look at him, and like he's not a pretty boy. Like he clearly gets his hands dirty, and like his notebook is pretty rough. Like he takes it everywhere with him, and he's not just a uniformed officer sitting in this jail. Like he clearly works. Like you can see evidence of it all over. And so you really do think, like, he did lie about seeing Dudman before, but you really think he will get to the bottom of this.
All right, Lieutenant. I'll leave you to your work. If you need anything from us, you know where to find us. I assume it's the same address that Harlick scribbled down for you, but I'll have him deliver a set of his notes to you.
Thank you. And he starts to sit back down again. Okay, so you
I'll leave.
you head out. Cool. Quentin, what are you doing?
Once everybody is gone, has he gone back to his notes, or is he still paying? Like,
He's sitting at the desk, sort of like waiting for you to leave.
so I'll look at the door to make sure everybody's gone, and I'll walk up to the desk and say, "Sorry about all that. They can be a rowdy bunch at times, but they're passionate and they do good work and are honest for the most part." You're not there. I specifically waited till you weren't. And I'll say, like Marthala said, we'll get you those notes. There's a couple parts in there you might want to pay particular attention to, and it involves a portal in that.
Yeah, I heard that part. That's the fantastical part I'll need to look into. And your Harlock is, well, he's an interesting fellow, but I'm gonna need to verify that with my own mages.
Oh, of course. You
Or
saw
wizards.
the foot room underneath the
I
town,
did,
right?
and that's the only reason I'm barely willing to believe this. But frankly, it could be a chute, like a stone chute down, like a pipe down into that room. It doesn't have to be all this hoopla about magic. But if it is, I'll find it.
Did you see any feet apparate out of the sky when you were in that room?
No, I didn't.
He'll kind of rub the back of his head and say, we saw quite a few. Seems we were under the town around the time a few murders happened all at once. Several of us had been controlled at one point when we were down there, and I can say from, let's say, experience back home, I know how it looks for people to be blamed for murders they had no part in. This reeks of it, and
He's now like looking at you with a lot of interest. Like, oh, really?
Bright green.
And he like looks you up and down, and he's like, "What can you tell me about where you've been since you've been in the city? Why don't you have a seat
with them.
while we talk about this?"
Okay, and I'll sit down.
He's going to interrogate you. You have become a suspect.
Could I
I gathered that.
lean in the door and say, "Oh my gosh, Quentin! It's so funny that you're still here. I dropped a thing out here. I need your eyes to look for it. You know how bad mine are. Thank you so much, Lieutenant Ray. Goodbye."
You physically haul me out.
He's gonna
Yes.
stand up and try and stop you. He's gonna be like, "I need to speak with this man. Where did you meet him? I think I need to talk to all of you again."
If Druce hears any of this, his head
Oh, I'd be
duck
delighted.
at the door
Quentin,
again,
what have you done?
and he'll switch over into Loxodon and just under his breath, he's like, "Are we gonna have a problem here?"
And I'll say, no, everyone calm down. Just, I'll be fine. I have nothing to hide.
Right, you might not have anything to hide, but I'm hungry.
Well, there's street food. Go for it.
Your street food.
So Lieutenant Rate sort of rubs his head and he says, "All right, listen, don't leave town. I'm going to come by the inn in the next couple days, and I'm going to have some questions for you. So get your stories straight." And he slumps back in the chair and just, like, picks up a piece of paper. Like, he's done with you.
You wanted to talk. We can talk. I have nothing
He's
to hide from you.
he just waves, like, "Just go." And he waves you out.
All right, I'll
Pollock,
stand up and leave.
I'm gonna need you to copy all of your notes.
Oh, I like to have duplicates. I was already planning on it.
You are such a nerd.
Why, thank you.
Okay, so where do you guys go next?
To the money exchanger, I would think,
Right.
since Relic left the room before everyone else.
Assumed he's halfway there.
How much was this for?
I do not remember. I know you got half before and half after. I think it was.
1,500, I think.
1,000 each.
Yeah.
I think it was 1,500.
It was 500 down and 500 remaining.
Okay.
So 1,000 total.
Total or each?
Total.
What?
So you head back to the money changers. Let's see. You guys woke up. How long has today been?
Real long.
I think did you guys wake up and go look for, start this hunt? Was that today, or did you guys do other stuff first?
We got like potions and stuff first.
Let's see here.
It's been a long day.
So you guys got back to the inn. You went to a potion shop. Relic tried to convince you guys not to do it, and then you went to the temple. But you started at... It looks like you started your day 5 sessions ago. You talked to the dockmaster, the blacksmith. You went to the beach. You went to a...
That was today? Holy crap.
That can't be right.
Yeah.
You must have slept in
No,
between.
we
Let's
slept
say...
out right after the beach. Did we?
I thought that was at night.
When we got the materials?
We'll say you...
Yeah.
Yeah, like the silver bear and stuff.
Yeah, that was the day prior. And
Okay.
we slept right after that.
And then you went to the potion shop. Then you went to the temple. Or you were on your way to the temple. Then you sidetracked to Mr. Shine's. Then you went to the temple. Then you went back to Mr. Shine's. And then you went to Lieutenant Rates after chasing. Yeah, okay. So it's evening time. The money changers are not open. All of that to figure that out. Sorry. The sun is setting. It's getting pretty dark out.
Guess it's bedtime.
Yes, it's level 3.
Thought you guys wanted a long rest.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, do want.
I have some transcribing / studying to do.
Okay, let's say you guys go back to the inn. Marie serves you a hearty stew. It's a weeknight, so just the usual crowd. You guys head upstairs for night-night. Anything anyone wants to do before a long rest?
I would like to attempt to entertain the crowd a little bit,
Okay,
playing some music and making a little money.
roll me a performance check.
You guys, I just realized my sword. My
Oh.
Well,
sword.
that's not
is-
ready yet.
It's been 2 days now, hasn't it?
It'll be ready when you wake up, probably.
Okay.
You can check on it then.
That is another nat 20.
Damn.
I switched dice. It is a different dice.
Did you see
Not a
my
dry eye in the
suspicious
house.
look? Yeah, you get people, and so this is the sort of a mostly working class stopping on their way home. There's clientele that is nicer, merchant class and that kind of thing, and so you're gonna walk away with money that I will type in the chat for you.
Yeah.
I like how your secrets are always about money.
Not always.
Um, okay.
Also,
Yeah.
Is there anything of note on that letter that I took?
Yes. So this letter is... I'll tell you after the break. I want to think about it. Actually, we're getting close to break time, so let me think about it. Anything else before you guys want to go to bed?
Did I see him take that note?
Because you only thought to ask me about it right now, no.
I mean,
So there. You just, like, it's too late to ask about that, because I would have had you roll for it, so. Okay. Anything else before you guys go to bed?
Before they get to sleep, if they're still sharing a room, Drews will kind of shut the door and pull Quentin aside and go, so what was all of that?
The captain seemed, or the lieutenant seemed young and inexperienced. He figured he could use some nudging in a responsible direction.
I don't know that that's your problem.
They can't hold me if they wanted to. I'm not worried about it. If we need to skip town, we can skip town. But the boy was under the influence. He shouldn't hang for it.
And Drews will kind of give him a long, meaningful look, but won't say anything else, and we'll just head to bed.
Okay. Anything else before you guys head to bed?
Much scribbling by candlelight.
Yeah, that sounds right. So you're making a copy of your notes. Do you think those will be ready by morning?
I imagine I will probably finish them in the morning.
Okay. Cool. All right. Brandel, anything from you?
I'm just going to sleep.
Okay. So this is a long rest. And you guys level up to level 3?
Mm-hmm.
3.
Yes. I guess.
Good job, guys.
Yup.
Have you
Yay,
all
I
made
delete
those? You delete your what?
Necessary adjustments.
My copy of the level 2 one.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. Has everybody made a level 3 or like upgraded?
I'm working
no,
on mine right now.
Okay, cool. How do you feel about going to break and chatting about that a little bit?
Yeah,
Cool.
sure.
Okay, stream. We'll be back in probably 5 to 10 minutes so that we can do the level up. And I apologize for the timing on this, but we will be right back. Thank you. Hello, Stream. We are back and we are leveled, and it's gonna be awesome. So our players have leveled up to level 3. We will hopefully have some interesting things happening soon. Players, it is the following morning. You feel oddly well rested and somehow stronger in different ways for each of you. You are again the earliest people up and about. Maria's bustling around. Same fare as before, same coffee and tea. She knows your orders now, so she's just cheerfully bustling around and making out food. Actually, the food's pretty much on the table as you guys sit down, so she's even picked up when you guys are getting up. Now, before you get started, 2 things. One, Relic, the letter was on cheap paper, and the lots of misspelling, but you can smell perfume, like a cheap perfume, and the letter seems to be pleading with Lieutenant Rate, whose first name is Josiah, which you find hilarious, to come see her. And 2, I want to remind you guys that you found a gear type thing underneath the city. You were hired by a man named Felix to go find it. There was a bit of a kerfuffle where you guys were upset at him for sending you down into all that danger. He explains that he had hired another group to clear out all the monsters, but didn't trust them to retrieve the treasure, and he never heard back from them. You guys decide to believe him enough to take a second job, which is in a town whose name I have forgotten because it was months ago, but I will look it up. You were staying in town long enough to help out the dragon, the baby dragon, whose name is Dab. Who was injured underground. She has been sitting outside town waiting for you guys. You did a bit of shopping with the super cool blacksmith, who still doesn't have a name, but who cares? Because you know who I'm talking about. And then the third thing that you guys have been doing is investigating this murder. And when you were doing a lot of your shopping, you did a bunch of running around into potion shops and things like that. And I just remembered another thing that I forgot to tell Relic, and I feel really bad about it, but I swear to God, I will figure it out. I'm going to write it down in my actual work notebook right now. While I'm thinking about it, I'm going to do it tomorrow morning. I swear. Swear to you. Look, I'm going to write it in huge letters across tomorrow. Potions for Relic. Okay. So, you guys were doing 3 things. Healing the dragon, which Geth is going to be helping with. Shopping type stuff. With I think the only outstanding item that's being made right now is Marthalis' sword at the blacksmith. And this temple matter that you seem to have wrapped up. Minus getting the rest of your money. But you're supposed to be moving towards the next city. So that's just an update for you and our lovely stream on what is happening in the world around you. Questions? Cool. So, you're sitting...
I may have interest in a magic shop at some point. if
You're
we
gonna need
find
to
that.
be more specific about what magic shop means.
Scrolls.
He wants spells.
I believe the
do.
bookseller told you that that's the kind of thing that's going to be in a collection, and he told you about a collector that you could go
I
talk
believe we were
to.
talking about something else, but sure, we can also say that's scrolls.
What kind of scrolls are you looking for?
Like spells. Like
Yeah.
spell scrolls.
Like first level spells.
The kind
Okay.
that you can do a spell book and then keep forever.
Oh, that's right, because you're playing a... Yes, okay. What else are you guys getting up to? Yes, that's what you're currently doing.
Bank then shopping. That seems
Yeah, do we
Okay.
have anything to do? Like were we gonna pick up any more money or
Yeah, we
something?
gotta go
Where
see
we
the
gonna
money
pay,
changer.
get paid
Yeah,
the other half? or
you need to
something?
pick up more money. You need to, or at least move it into your accounts. You need to pick up the sword, and Harlock wants to swing by it. Magic bookshop, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, like, there's no reason for us all to go on these errands. I'll go to the money changer. You all go to the blacksmith and the bookshop. I'll take care of the money for us.
Relic, I mean, Brannon, I really like you to see the sword. I mean, you did pay for it after all. It seems.
Sure. We'll just take care of the money first.
I think
Yes, we can all.
Quentin,
do that.
without looking up from his bacon, will say, yeah, that's fine. We can all do math. I trust him enough to pick up the money.
Right. I just need you all to sign a document saying I can access your accounts.
I sighed immediately.
Oh no, you'll bring me the coin to me, and I'll handle it.
You don't want to use the bank. Carry all that money around.
If you're uncomfortable carrying it back to the inn, then I should just come with you.
I still want to carry it. I ain't your errand boy.
I would like to remind you that in order to place money or remove money from someone's account, you have to be present and share a secret password. And that in order to in order to do the kind of thing that Lieutenant Rate does, you have to have something set up with the money house to do with that stamp. So
And away we go.
yeah, so you're all gonna have to go to the money changers, basically.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I wanted to get money out anyway.
So we all go to the money changers. It is
Yeah, money.
Bacon off of Quentin's plate without him noticing first.
okay. Roll me a sleight of hand check, and
Different dice.
Luth, what's your passive perception, or Quentin?
Oh, my passive 17.
Unless you're gonna be like staring at him to see if he's
I mean,
trying to
he's
steal your
tried it
bacon.
multiple times at this point.
Then
every morning.
roll me a perception check.
It's gonna be lower than a 17. I
That's
guarantee it.
why I was being specific.
Yep.
I only got an 11.
Well, I got a 10.
Yeah, you steal bacon. Quentin, do you take any bacon with you?
Yeah, I think I take a little bit just in my pocket.
Okay.
Pocket bacon.
Isn't there still old bacon in some of your other pockets?
I'll give it to Toast.
Okay, so you head to the money changers. Quentin, roll me another perception check.
Okay. I've decided that these aqua dice are Quentin's because he's winter season, I think we decided. So that's a 24.
Across the street from the inn is that scrappy little dog. It's hiding behind a barrel, but you just see its nose peeking out.
I'll walk past and not make eye contact, but kind of like walking forward, squat sideways, and toss some bacon that direction.
He inhales it.
Okay.
And then,
Actually changes direction midair because he's breathing in so hard.
yeah, like, basically. And then he seems to completely disappear.
Okay.
So you guys are walking towards the money changers. Nothing terribly exciting happens except that Harlock sees a magic bookshop. It's one of those, like, weird kitschy places with, like, skulls hanging in the window, like rat skulls and stuff. And the lady inside is like in layered black clothes. Like, she's wearing way too many clothes, but they're all black. And her hair is all standing up. And she's like, "What? What?
Hello, madam.
What?
I'm looking for some scrolls.
Oh, yeah. Here, yeah." And she points, and there's And she stops and she whips back around and she's like, "Well, what? What do you need?"
Should I just tell you the spells I'm looking for?
Yeah, so you guys haggle back and forth for a little while, and she gives you she manages to convince you to buy a clump of scrolls, and there's definitely the spell that you're interested in there, but the rest of them seem really hard to decipher, which is my
Fascinating.
hilarious way of saying as you level up, you will find more spells in there that you can read.
Cool. How
And
many do
I'll-
I get?
There's like 7 of them.
Sweet. And
Yep.
how much will that run me?
She's gonna ask for, what did I say was above a gold? Platinum?
Platinum.
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna ask for a platinum. She looks you up and down and she's like, "Yeah, platinum."
Consider it done.
Her eyes get real big and she's like, "Yeah, yep." And she holds out her hand
The madam get the platinum.
and it like disappears. She basically inhales it and she shoves the scrolls at you and she's like, "Ah, out, bye."
Were any of the rest of us around for that?
I don't know. Do you guys follow Harlick in there? Cause like he basically sees the shop and is like, "I would 1 second. I got it."
How far
I
are
don't
we
think
from the money
I don't
chamber?
think I do.
Definitely not.
Yeah, I'm just gonna wait outside.
The money changers is still a bit over. Like and this only takes like 5 minutes. It only like maybe more like 10, 15, but you could head out if you wanted.
Probably not the greatest haggler.
No.
No, you don't seem to haggle at all. I do believe I've given you the opportunity to haggle almost every time and you just don't. But Harlick seems definitely like that kind.
I would simply like
You
to
say
know
a price.
saw
If I am
a-
okay with it, I pay it.
Sorry, I'm hearing Harlick and Relic at the same time. So Harlick, you're okay with paying any price. That's good. Relic, what were you trying to say?
I just want to know if I saw him give her a platinum.
Well, would you have tried to leave him behind when he went into the shop, or would you have hung around outside?
Nope, I would have hung around because I can't do anything with all of everyone present, so we would have had to wait for him.
Roll me a perception check.
Oh, 15 plus 3, 18.
Yes, you saw him hand her a platinum.
I will file that away.
You've seen Harlick handle platinum before. You've seen him withdraw it from the bank.
He wasn't there when I got it the last time.
He wasn't?
No, neither him nor Marthala were present.
Oh, that's right. You guys were on that other thing. Okay. Never mind. This is the first time you've seen him handle platinum.
Right. Just,
Yep.
putting it in the old brain box.
That's totally fine. Okay, so you guys end up at the money changers. Quentin, roll me another perception check.
That's a 19.
You see the pup again. He's behind. He's definitely following you. Yeah, he's always behind something. Like you see his nose again.
I'll just keep kind of dropping bacon off to the side where he could like skitter out and back in if he wanted to.
He waits until it looks like you're not looking, and then he inhales it. And he's very cautious. Like he's looking around for other dogs. And if there are any other like dogs or cats, even like he's bitty. He's a baby, and but he's very quick. You notice he's moving almost unnaturally fast, and you put it down to the fact that he's basically skin and bone, so he's starving. And he follows you all the way to the money changers, where you run out of bacon.
Okay.
You head into the money changers. The master of the building is actually on the floor helping another customer the same way that he helped you guys. He sees you enter and he waves like, "I'll be right with you." And one of the clerks waves you over and says, "What can I do for you today, sirs, madam?"
I'm outside. I don't do the money stuff.
Sirs, who goes inside?
I think that Marthella, they made me open an account last time. I don't think I was able to put
You
it
and
back.
I have a joint account.
Yeah, the two of
Yeah.
you have a joint account. Like,
Yeah.
because
You
you.
handle her money and allow her to access it sometimes.
Right, Marthala came in and was like, I don't want to. And you just handle all of her money. And I think she hands you her money every time she gets it anyway, right? That's what you've been doing?
Anytime she finds something.
That's what our Lord would want me to do.
Yeah.
It's for the great good.
Does Druge stay outside?
I think he comes in almost timidly behind everyone else.
The bouncers give you a look over.
Kind of an oh.
He will have taken off his tusk swords by this point.
Yeah,
I assumed you didn't.
I
sleep in
assume
them.
you don't sleep in them, yeah.
Yeah, no.
I have a question for you, Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Are we splitting this more or less evenly?
Typing is fun. Okay. Druge, as you get into the building, like right after and you're at the back of the group, the bouncers kind of give you a once over and like an appreciative nod, like, yeah. And then they like look at Marthala and they're like, yeah. And I'll have to ask you about the wings, Marthala, when you get those. They sort of like settle back down and you're standing behind the group and you see the guy wave and you see the clerk wave over and you like shuffle behind and you're making sure you don't step on anybody. And as you get over there, your tusks have started to glow, and it gets stronger and stronger the deeper into the building you go.
That's fucking weird.
I think I will be watching.
He will look fairly surprised by this, and at first he'll try and like brush it off as if it were like something that were attached to them, and assuming that doesn't work, you can't really cover them, but he will slink further into the back and be as unobtrusive as is possible.
You do a horrible job of this. You are a giant Loxodon with glowing tusks. But nobody says anything. The master of the house sort of gives you a look, but continues the conversation he's having. He just sort of keeps an eye on you.
I think he ducks outside.
Okay. When you do that, like, the master's eyes like follow you out, and the bouncers, as you get outside, the tusks have stopped glowing.
Great, he's gonna post up outside.
What are you doing here? I thought you went in.
I'm gonna let Quentin handle it.
Do I notice that he seems a little sheepish?
I don't know. How much you gonna try and hide how unsettled you are, Druge?
I don't know that he is in a place where he can handle or hide that, so probably not very.
Yeah, Marthala probably picks up on it. You guys have had a couple of these conversations.
Could I be real weird and awkward and like hold out my hand like I want to just hold his trunk like a normal person would hold hands?
Yeah, that's definitely a thing you can do. What's Druge do?
He kind of looks at her, then looks down at the hand, then looks back inside, then back at her, and then back down at the hand, and then his trunk kind of slowly inches towards her hand.
Friendship!
It's magic.
Yeah, I
This
need
is an amazing picture.
I need it. I need this in my life. This is wonderful. Like I want someone to draw this for me, and I will totally hang it on a wall. Like just this like matter of fact, Asimar, fully decked out in armor with a big sword and like this huge Loxodon like covered in, and and they both look very intimidating, and she just holds out her hand like she's like, okay, and he just like puts his trunk in her hand, and they're just standing there. And the bodyguards are definitely not looking. Like, they're like, okay, yep.
They're specifically not looking.
They're specifically not looking.
Anywhere else.
And as people are walking by, they like do a double take and then like immediately look away. Like, I'm not looking. Like, it's not awkward. You're awkward. What?
Weird.
Awkward?
You're
No.
weird. Go away.
Okay.
The ground is very interesting all of a sudden to everyone.
Everyone. Like, no one's gonna say anything to the two of you. And yeah. It's not weird. I'm just being silly. Okay, so back inside, we've got... Sorry, Brannon, Quentin, Harlick, and Brandel. Yes?
Right.
All right. Who's
so.
doing the talking?
I got this shit here. We're owed some money, and I guess we're gonna split it out into our accounts.
And the clerk says, "Of course, may I?" And he holds out a hand for the sheet.
I hand it to him.
And this is the sheet that you got from Lieutenant Rate, correct?
Correct.
And he looks at it and he sees the amount is 500 gold, and he looks up. Is that correct? Does that sound right? And he's scribbling away, and he says, "Will this be deposited entirely in your account, sir?" And he like looks around, and you realize this is the clerk that's helped you before.
Quentin's in the back with like his lips kind of like, how to describe it? Just like when you kind of like tuck your bottom lip up over your top lip, and like you're kind of looking down and like shaking his head very much no when he asks if it's all going to one account.
Okay.
I reckon we better split it up.
And the clerk says, "Of course. And if you don't mind, which accounts will those be?" And he pulls out several sheets, and you recognize these as the sheets where he like puts an order down and then has somebody go retrieve things in different trays. And so you each give him your account information, and he does the math, which I will not do. And he makes the notes, and he looks at the document again, and he sets it on a corner with a crystal on it, and the crystal glows very faintly, and the master of the house, you notice him see that, and then he finishes up his conversation, and he comes over and he says, "It's so good to see you all again. Is everything going okay?" And the clerk says, "Yes, of course. This is from Lieutenant Rate." And the master picks it up underneath the crystal, and the crystal goes dark, and he says, "Ah, of course. This is the other half of a payment. Is that correct?"
Yes, right.
And he says,
Yes.
"Excellent." And he folds it in half, and he tucks it in a pocket. He says, "Thank you." So the boy has run off, and he's come back with the different... before the boy runs off, he says, "Would you like this amount to be deposited, or would you like to withdraw anything?"
Withdrawing 15 gold.
Okay, and he notes that down.
I am also withdrawing. I want
So Harlick, 15 gold. Brandel wants how many?
I want 30 gold.
30 gold. Anybody else?
I will deposit all of mine in Mark.
What session is this?
23. Quentin?
Oh, I'm sorry. It was 400 and 400. Am I muted? No, I'm not muted.
Okay.
So, yeah, Quentin's gonna deposit most of it, but he's gonna keep out. I'd say. Shit, where's my equipment? How much do I have? So I'd say maybe 15. He'll keep out 20 gold.
Does Juge want to keep anything out?
I think he's still outside and doesn't give Quentin any input.
I think what will happen is the clerk will have noticed you come in and leave, and he'll look at Quentin and say, does I know he's not quite comfortable in here. The ceilings are a little low. I can send a boy out to sign something if you know what he wants."
Let me check with him,
Okay,
and I'll step outside and check.
go ahead.
Do you interrupt anything?
No, he's still like writing stuff down, but yeah, Quentin.
No,
I
I
mean,
think he
the
means when I
hand
walk
trunk
outside
holding.
and they're- Yeah.
Oh,
holding the
right.
trunk.
Our friendship.
Is it an awkward moment?
Not for us anymore. Now it's normal.
Yeah, this is fine.
I'll say I just won't even make notice of it. Like, he notices, but he doesn't say anything. I'll say, do you need any funds? Are you good?
75 is fine.
Okay. And I'll turn around and walk right back in.
So the clerk writes that down, and he leans over to one of the errand boys, and he hands him the it's like a piece of paper at the bottom of like a wooden tray. And the boy nods and runs outside, and you notice the bouncers like watch what's happening. And the boy holds it up to Druge with a pen, and he's like, "Sir." And you see that Druge, it's all in order. It has there's a spot for you to fill in your account information, and you notice the bouncers watching this. So if you'll sign, you'll see the boy go right back inside, and the bouncers will watch to make sure he goes over to the right clerk, and then they turn back around like everything's fine. This seems to be fairly normal.
He looks like he has a hard time signing. Like it takes a lot of thought for him to actually write stuff out, but he eventually manages.
At this point, I would like to speak up.
Yes.
Right, you blackguards trying to steal from that poor goblin. Remember, part of this is going into his fund too.
I'm sorry, I'm missing something. Shauna is missing something. What's happening?
Gorko. Remember?
The Gorko Fund.
The
we set up
Gorko
It's
50
really
fund.
the
gold.
party fund, but it's
Yeah.
the Gorko Fund.
Right.
Which you now have about 100 gold in maybe.
And the clerk says, "My apologies, sir. I can recalculate. I was just basing this on those of you who gave me the account information. I believe that is a group account. Do you have the account information?"
I sure do. Somewhere here.
I believe you. He says, "Very good," and he redistributes the numbers, and like does the math for like the withdrawing and stuff, which Shauna is not going to do. And he says, "Is this satisfactory?" And he lays all of the trays out in front of you guys, so you can check the numbers. And the master of the house is hanging out while this happens.
It's satisfactory to me, but I'm ashamed of all of you for forgetting poor Gorko.
Quentin just rolls his eyes.
Please tell me you said his name wrong when you said it.
He did not.
Brandel or Harlick, do you respond to Relic's attempt to shame you?
I'll drop a gold in.
Quentin
Well-
just put his hand, like, it's already coming out of the.
Yeah, what's happened here when Relic brought up Gorko's account is the clerk realizing that he did his math wrong basically because he only split it the number of ways of people here, right? Like he only split it
607.
yeah. And then he says so he redistributes the numbers.
Oh sure. Like I don't mind. Gorko deserves a fund.
Okay. So
He's
you
gonna go to Wizard College.
Yes, he is. So you all approve this, and he says, "Is that all? I'll send off for this now." Relic, did you want to hold any gold or just deposit all of it?
Just deposit all of it.
Oh, that's right, you did say that, yeah. So sorry, I got something in my eye. It's very distracting. So any other changes, or he's gonna send the boy off?
I'm good.
Okay, so he sends the boy off, and the master of the house is. You guys turned around that job fairly quickly. Lieutenant Reid is we work with the city quite a bit. You must be very good at what you do.
We are.
It's so good that the city has people like you that it can depend on. And so he chit chats with you for a couple of minutes. The boy comes back and he's got the trays stacked up, and he puts them on the clerk's desk, and the clerk stands and he's like looking at each tray and making sure it all lines up, and he's handing each tray to each person. And he holds up the slip for the Gorko account, and he hands it to Relic.
I'm gonna immediately pass it to Quentin.
I'll just kind of like nod and stick it in his shirt. Is it a receipt or am I signing for it?
It's a receipt.
Okay, yeah, I'll just stick it in my shirt.
Okay, and he takes all the trays back as you guys gather your stuff, and the boy runs outside with Druzh's tray, and it's covered. And he sort of like holds it in a way where it's like covered, and one of the bouncers comes over and stands like blocking the view as well. And the boy says, "Sir," and there's your money and a receipt, and he hands it to you, and then he takes the tray back inside. And the bouncer looks over his shoulder and waits until you've tucked stuff away, and then he goes and stands by the door again. This seems again to be like a usual occurrence.
Cool. He'll tuck it all away into one of the various pouches.
And the clerk says, is there any other business I can handle for you all?
No, mate, you've been lovely.
Wonderful. All right, so you guys all file out.
Yep.
Is there anything else you wanted to do?
I guess alright.
Sword.
Yeah, I guess we're
So
going to the blacksmith.
not in the counting house then.
Where is Lieutenant Rate's office compared to this?
One day I'll draw you a map.
Okay.
This city is very confusing.
One day I will draw you a map for sure. Okay, so you guys go to get the sword?
Yes.
So again, you have no issues. You get up to the outside of the city. You head to the blacksmith's, and an apprentice stops you. I want to remind you that this is like a big, low building, and when you walk in, there are anvils and forges like along the walls, and it looks like some of the fancier work is happening up front, if you will, and like the sort of drudgery work is happening like in the middle, and then the very complicated work is happening in the back. And that's where you see the blacksmith working, and an apprentice intercepts you as you guys are heading back there, and he says, and he's got a leather apron on, and he's set down his tongs, if you will. He chucked like a horseshoe or something in a bucket, and he says, "What can I do for you?" And he seems to be the oldest here, and you've interacted with him before. And he says, "What can I do for you, sirs, madam?"
Picking up.
I'm supposed to pick up a sword.
Ah, yes. Right this way. And so he takes you back to the back, and he waits for his mistress to finish some complicated forgery thing. It only takes a moment, and she catches sight of you over the shoulder and holds up a finger like, "One moment." She finishes what she's doing. She turns around, and she goes, and she points at Marthala and like crooks a finger like, "You come here." And
I'll step forward and smile real big.
and she like links arms with you and is like, "Yep." And she like leads you over to a table, and she lets go of you, and there's it's scattered with tools and stuff, but in a fairly clear space is a long piece of leather, and it's clearly covering like a sword. And she puts one hand on it, and she looks back at you like, "You ready?" And she whips it up, and what you see is I think I told you this was going to be a +1 sword.
You didn't tell me anything.
It's going to be a +1 sword. +1 sword.
Cool.
Dang.
And it's going to have like it is made of the finest steel, and the hilt is actually 2 sets of wings that come up like around your hand.
Ooh, that's cool.
And she sort of like cocks a knowing eye at you, like she knows what you are. And she holds it up on her finger so she can show you that it's like perfectly well balanced. And then she, from her finger, flips it up and grabs the hilt and like swishes it, and you can hear that like singing noise that a beautiful sword makes when it's slicing through air molecules. And then she holds it out towards you, like hilt first, but with the flat of the blade on her two hands, like urging you to take it.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it kind of shyly, and take it for a few swipes through the air myself, and then really take a good look at the hilt. I'm visibly confused by the wings right now.
Yeah, I know you are. It's gorgeous work, and she tapped.
Like I know that they're beautiful wings and that they wrap up around my hand while I'm holding. Thala.
That's all.
Is confused as to the symbolism.
Right. I think all Marthala thinks right now is that this is a beautiful sword. She taps the wings, and then she looks up and she waves to get the attention of another apprentice, and he seems to be working on smaller things, and she waves him over. And he comes over, and he's got like a something smaller in his hand, and he says, "Ma'am," and she points at the hilt, and she points at him, and he says, "Oh, I did this work. I've been experimenting with different ways of balancing the blades that are a little more ornate, and this was one of my experimental pieces. I hope you don't mind. My mistress here thought that you would be okay with it." And she gestures at him a couple times, and he blushes, and he says, she's been looking for a good opportunity for me to do this kind of work on a blade, and she felt like you. And she gestures again, and she says, yes, she felt like this group was the right group for, I guess she's given you guys a couple of her own experiments, and she's gesturing at him like, come on. And he blushes, and he's like, and I've been following in her footsteps, so I hope you like it. And he sort of shuffles his feet, and he like holds up a dagger he's got, and this one also has like a very intricate hilt, but instead of leaves, it looks like it's got vines that are twisting out to form the hilt, so it's not like a traditional hilt, and it's not finished. There's only like one half done, and it looks like he's inlaying the metal into the base of a hilt, like a wooden hilt. And he says, it's stuff like this. I hope you like it. And then he shuffles back to his workbench.
While he's shuffling back, I'm gonna say, it's beautiful, I love it, it's perfect.
He like hunches his shoulders like he's embarrassed, and he's like, yeah, cool, thanks, bye. And the blacksmith laughs, and it's a really good-natured laugh, and she's got her hands on her hips, and she looks at all of you, and she sort of looks questioning, like, anything else?
I'm gonna just give a little bow, and say, thank you so much.
But she kind of like pats her chest, and she shakes her head, like, of course, anything for you.
And then hug my
Madam.
sword super close and go back to the...
Yeah, yeah, okay, you guys are good. Great. Blacksmith over.
Is the other object done?
What other object? I'm forgetting. Do you want to Discord me?
I spoke with you about it. If it's a seat.
Remember how I said, if you don't type things at me... Hang on, I'm looking. Oh, right. Yes, I remember. Yeah, yep.
Yes, no, maybe?
Yes. So she, so you sort of like raise your hand a little, or whatever. How do you get her attention when she's like, are we done?
Right.
She sees you, and she's like, oh, yes, and she claps her hand to her forehead, and she says, one moment. And she actually, the back of this, like, low shed thing has, like, a big opening in the back, and she goes out, and you hear her rummaging around, and you hear some things fall to the ground, and some, mumbling, and she comes back in, and she's holding what looks like a bundle of steel rods and fabric of some kind, and she carries it in, and she sets it down, and she starts unfolding it in a particular way, and it's 4 steel rods that sort of blossom out like a flower, and as it unfolds, two more rods that you couldn't see underneath sort of snap into place. And she flips it over, and she gestures Harlock over, and she shows you where there's like a release, and if you like push the release, it collapses again. But if you don't push the release, and she sets it down, and she like leans on the seat part, and she's like, yeah, like, what do you think? She like gestures like, yeah.
Well, now's as good a time as any. This is a bit of a peace offering.
And
I will gesture to Druge.
she looks confused, and then she smiles like, ah, yes, and she gestures at Druge like, come here. So Druge, you're seeing,
Really confused. But
you're
yeah.
basically seeing like a very rustic camp chair made out of metal, like real honest to God metal. It looks like you can sit on it.
Now, I know we got off on the wrong foot, but in a gesture of goodwill, I thought there has been a deficiency. You don't have many options. Why not see what I could make happen?
He doesn't really have eyebrows, but if he did, one would be raised. So he'll kind of tentatively move over and try and take a seat.
So she watches you as you're sitting, like to make sure it's balanced correctly and it's not going to collapse or anything. But you find as you sit that it is, since you've left home, it's one of the only pieces of furniture you've sat in that you didn't think you were going to crush. And it's comfortable.
And he'll kind of... I think he's still looking down at Harlock, even if he's sitting.
Mm-hmm.
He'll
Oh, probably.
look down and be like, well, it's not the worst thing you've ever done.
It's a start. No strings. You've outdone yourself again, madam.
She beams at you, and she points at Harlock and then points at the chair and like looks confused and like bangs the palm of her and then looks like she thought of something and then points at the chair and she's like, right? Yeah, I'm pretty cool. And Drew, she shows you the release. It's real simple, underneath the seat, and it folds down into a pretty neat little bundle. And it's got a strappy thing that goes around it that'll hold it closed.
Cool. I will stack it on top of my fancy portable Rams strappy thing and carry all of the stuff.
Yep, figured you would. Okay, all done with the blacksmith?
All done.
Okay, so you finished with the blacksmith. I will figure out what to do with the dragon. You finished with the temple. Can we safely say that the next time that we play, you'll be on the road to the next town? Or is there other stuff you guys want to finish up in town?
I mean, not really.
I was told not to leave town.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, we can
specifically
safely
told to
ignore that.
stay.
Wait, were you told to stay?
Yeah, Lieutenant Ray
was
said, "Don't
like,
leave
"Don't
town."
leave town. I want to talk to you."
Right.
That's why I asked where the office was. I was going to stop by, see if
Yeah.
he had his questions list together.
So we may need to talk to Lieutenant Ray.
Hang on,
But-
no. I know how to fix this. Okay. You guys are going back to the inn, right?
Fix anything, yeah.
We
I
are.
would stop by the office before heading back to the inn.
Lieutenant Rate isn't at the office, but when you get back to the inn, he's at the bar. And he sees you as you come in, and he says, Marie, that room? And she says, yeah, of course, upstairs. And so he's like, would you guys mind coming with me? And he takes you to an upstairs room, just like an upstairs, just one of the empty guest rooms. And he says, I wanted to talk to you. I know you guys probably have work to do, and I don't want to keep you from it, but I needed to wrap up my investigation. Do you guys mind if I ask you a couple of questions?
And Quentin will very, not hurriedly, but will be the first to respond and say, not at all.
Does anyone
I'll
resist?
hand him my annotated notes.
He's like, yes, perfect. And he flips through them quickly. And he like
course they're
murmurs, and he's
annotated.
like, "Of course." And then he like tucks them in that notebook you saw on his desk. Anybody?
While he's looking through those notes, I'm just gonna walk past and go upstairs.
We're already upstairs, dear.
You gonna like leave the room?
Yeah.
He's like, okay. Does Marthala go with him?
I never went into the room because this is a whole bunch of boys and I am a young lady.
This is like a sitting room.
With a
Okay,
super
as long
pretty
as it's not
sword.
like a guest room.
No,
Or
it's like
we met Felix.
it's like a guest sitting room that like someone can like use. You know, it's not attached to a bedroom or anything.
I will wait because I want to know that Duncan's gonna be okay.
So he does anybody like resist answering any questions?
Yeah,
Drews
no.
looks like he's going to say something, but as soon as Quentin speaks up, he clams down and sinks back against the door frame.
Try out your new chair. He when you whip out this chair is like, you've been to the blacksmith. She's incredible. All right. I wanted to clear up some misconceptions. And so he launches into a pretty exhaustive round of questions about what you've done since you came to Walls. He asks how each of you entered the city. He asks what you've done since you've been here. He asks who you've worked with. He asks a bunch of questions. You guys are able to give him pretty straightforward answers. He knows Felix. He knows Captain Truff. Everything that you've done in town has been pretty above board as far as he's concerned, mostly because Relic's not in the room and Marthala's answering all the questions. When he-
Above board, if not above ground.
Yeah, you're fired. And so he gets to the end of it and he says, well, okay, we have had someone out to the temple. He says, okay, that's done with. So let me share with you what we've learned. We've had somebody out to the temple. We've confirmed that there is a portal that links to the room underneath the city. There needs to be some further study of it. There's something strange about that magic. But we've also talked to Dudman, and he looks at Marthala here and he says, it's very strange that Dudman started speaking only when the rift started. And my aunt has confirmed that exact moment as the rift opened, he exclaimed and then started spouting all of this stuff about that which endures. Now, that's not a very well-known entity because it's so old, so we're still trying to get historians in here to clarify some things. But considering that Dudman's state and the times that we can verify he was with my aunt, it's clear that he is not committing all of the murders, as you suspected. My aunt is also arguing very strongly to keep him with her. That's going to necessitate some changes to the way she runs her operation, but we think it will be the best for and he seems to be stumbling over his words, and he says patience. Dudman has not spoken since you left the jail. He seems to have returned to the state he was in before the rift. Did you... And he shakes his head and he's like, I have to ask, did you do anything to him?
Other than tell him that he was going to be kept safe, I don't think so.
And he nods and he says, okay, so given the circumstances, I am recommending that he be returned to my aunt's house, or that big place, so that he can return to her care. Now,
DM?
yeah.
How much would I know about, like, if he was brought into a cult? So my suspicion as a player is if he's brought into a cult and that somehow changed his state where he could talk and he knew all this stuff, if that entity or whatever abandoned him for whatever reason, would Quentin know enough about cults to know that was a possibility that he would return to his original state? Something I could roll for.
Roll me a history check.
Okay. I'm not proficient in that, and it is a 4, so...
Womp womp.
No. Good
You
thought,
don't know
though.
shit.
I don't know shit. Good. Okay.
Yeah, okay. And he says, well, I think that about covers it. Do you guys have any questions? I may not be able to answer them, but I'll answer everything I can.
Do you have any questions for me?
So many questions.
he covered that in his interview,
He
right?
covered
Like
that
he,
already.
yeah, he
Gotcha.
he was
Okay.
he was really interested in where you all were. Like you guys were down
Oh, I see.
under the
Okay.
city and verifiably under the city, as much as that can be verified, during the majority of the murders. So, and like most of you weren't even in town before the murders started.
Right.
He's able to confirm that with the gate guards and stuff. He's mostly just making sure your stories match with their stories, and you've done that.
Okay.
And he stands up and he says, "Thank you very much for your time. I've told Marie to cover around for you guys. Sorry for the confusion earlier." And he sort of politely bows to everybody and then leaves. All right. Now the next time we meet, will you guys leave the city?
Yep.
I guess.
Sweet.
Sure.
Yep.
All right. Let me just take some notes real quick. This means, guys, that I have to read a book to see what you guys are doing next, because I've completely forgotten any of my notes. All right, so you guys are going to take another long rest. Okay. What'd you guys learn?
Rate's much younger than I
Sorry,
thought he was.
to be clear, we are ending tonight's session after Rate leaves the Candlestick Inn. You guys get that free round with Murray and Carouse, and then Carouse, and then go to bed. And you'll wake up tomorrow morning in the next session. Yes? Good? Great.
Woo!
Woo.
So we will be wrapping up with learned and RP points. I'm going to take the time right now to tell stream, that if you would like to, when we get to RP points, recommend good role-playing moments that you think should be nominated, you can do that in chat. Okay, what'd you guys learn? I missed the first one.
Just saying one.
Luth was just saying one.
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying that we learned that Rate was much younger than I thought he was.
He also has a liaison. We didn't all learn that, but
He has a liaison?
Oh no, I would have definitely told you all.
the letter he got from the lady that was perfumed.
Yeah, he's got a lady who's after him.
Sorry,
Or somebody.
Too much perfume, you guys.
Relic, you would have told everybody about it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's all the gossip.
Got it. Do you want me to write down liaison or young lady, or? I'll write down liaison. Okay. What else?
We learned that we were right about Dudman. I say we, I mean I. I was right about Dudman.
There's more than
Perfectly
one
timed, yeah.
killer.
Yep, that does
Yeah.
seem to be the case.
But we're not gonna worry about that. We out.
Yep.
Yeah, we literally just got paid to do half a job. I'm just gonna put it out there.
He
We eliminated a suspect.
he covers that when he does the investigation. He says, since this is like so much larger, like I need to keep this within the watch now, with the information they have. Between you and me as players and GM, I have this bad tendency to keep people trapped in towns by one cool thing after the other, and I'm trying not to do that, because there is a whole adventure module that I'm trying to run you guys through, and I'm doing a shitty job of getting through this book. So
I mean, you literally said you can't leave.
I know. I don't know what I was like. Luth, I'm gonna kill you. Like, I can't believe you did that. Like, it was like you were
I was just trying to stand up for the boy.
standing up for the boy. You were making yourself look like a suspect. Like, I was trying to think of a way to get around that, and I just couldn't. And you kept
Plenty of ways to
pushing.
get out of town if I
Oh, I was gonna beat you to death. Okay, what else did you learn? Okay,
I can't think of anything else.
ready for RP points?
Yep.
Yes.
Those must be typed. So let me get.
By the way, real quick, did Geth get a cut of this whole job? Or not?
No, he wasn't part of the job, so I don't think so.
Just to start, I would nominate the
Wait,
trunk hand holding.
wait. What day is it? 20. Okay. Trunk. Is that, yeah, so Marthala for,
Is
hand.
that, yeah, I guess that Marthala really started it. So
Yeah,
we'll
she
go with
initiated, so yeah, she gets that.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Okay.
dear fuck, if you didn't nominate it, I would.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Harlock for buying Drew's a chair, because that's awesome.
Oh yeah, that is
Yep.
pretty good.
Yeah, that was real good.
I think gift giving is a Harlech thing.
That is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and throw in Relic for bringing up Gorko to try and guilt everyone when we
I was
both
gonna say
know,
that,
we
yeah.
all know that he doesn't give a shit.
Nope, super dope.
Negative fucks are given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Cool. Go on.
I do really
I wasn't
find.
there. I didn't forget anything.
I didn't forget.
I do really find those moments like really entertaining where he tries to guilt all of you and like Marthala falls for it every time.
She super does.
And it's just so good. Okay.
He's so trustworthy, you guys. He
I'm
saved
not gonna lie, there were a few moments that PAX East where I was like, oh, a little bit
of relic, yeah.
squeaking out there.
Is there any other RP points? Okay. Ready to
Quentin for being Quentin and Quintining up our meeting with Lieutenant Rate.
I waited until everybody was gone. You guys were all safely out of the building. It's fine.
probably would have been better if they were in the building.
Yeah.
All right, you guys ready to vote?
Yes.
Cool. Remember, you are voting with emojis. Yes! Effluent emoji. It's elephant emoji. Oh, and a chair emoji. That's good.
Twice, though.
You
Ah,
cannot vote
that's so
twice.
tough.
See, I was
I
gonna
can't
vote
decide.
for the handholding with the chair.
I'm sorry. Did you vote?
The choices.
Did you
No.
vote for the chair one because you found a chair emoji? Is that?
No, because I thought the chair was better.
Oh, okay. Cool. I've got 3 votes out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. Now I have 5 votes. Need 1 more.
I really like the chair, so.
All right. So the RP point goes to Marthala for hand holding Drew's trunk. Well done. You guys are awesome. All right. So stream. I'm ending the stream. You have all been delightful and lovely, and I hope to see you next time, which should be next Tuesday because none of us can go anywhere.
No kidding.
All right. Hope everyone's doing well, and have a great night. Bye.